Okay, imagine this. A country, tinier than Manhattan, right?
Yeah.
But it pulls in over 2 million visitors every single year.
That's pretty staggering when you think about it.
Exactly. And it's the world's oldest republic, completely surrounded by Italy, population under 34,000. Just wow.
And that's what we're digging into today.
Yep. Today on the deep dive, we're heading into the really fascinating microstate of San Marino. We're armed with some great insights from an online article that you, our listener, shared with us.
Yeah, and our mission here isn't just to, list the sites. We want to get under the skin of it, really understand what makes this tiny place tick, why it's lasted so long and still draws people in.
For sure. Forget the standard travel guide stuff. Think of this as your quick way to get the essence of San Marino, the history, the weird bits, what it all means, without needing to read like encyclopedias.
Right. And the source material, the article, it naturally starts where you have to start with San Marino, the three towers.
You can't miss them, can you?
Yeah.
Guaita, Felicia, and Montal. They just define the place visually.
They really do. And what's fascinating about them isn't just how they look, but how they sort of embody San Marino's whole story of independence. Guaita, that's the first tower. It goes way back, 11th century.
And it was a prison, too, not just a fort.
Yeah, exactly. Uses both. And apparently you can still find bits of prisoner art or maybe graffiti left behind.
Huh. Adds a bit of a dark edge.
Yeah.
But the views, the article raves about them.
Absolutely. Sensational, I think was the word used. You're looking right across the Apennines, out towards the Adriatic Sea, just panoramic.
And there's a single ticket for that, like €9.
Yeah, it gets you into Guaita and another museum or monument, so it encourages you to see more, connects the history together.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, what about the second tower, Felicia? More amazing views, I assume.
Definitely dreamy views, as the article puts it, but Felicia also has the Ancient Weapons Museum inside.
Oh, right. That sounded cool. How many weapons are we talking?
Get this. Over 2,000 pieces. Arms, armor, you name it. From medieval stuff right up to, well, more modern times. It opened back in 1956.
2,000. How does a tiny state even amass that kind of collection? That's impressive.
It really is. And it's open daily, so you can, soak up all that military history and then step outside, walk along these 13th century walls.
Ah, so you're literally walking the history while looking at the view.
Precisely. You're tracing their old defenses. Considering all the conflicts and shifting powers on the Italian peninsula over the centuries, these well-kept fortifications are pretty significant.
They weren't just for show then. They were a real statement.
A statement of sovereignty, yeah. Quite remarkable for such a small state to maintain that.
Okay, then the third one, Montel. 14th century, smaller. But you can't go inside this one.
No, Montel's closed to the public, but the article points out it's in this really picturesque kind of forested setting.
So still worth seeing from the outside. For the views, maybe.
Yeah, quieter views, perhaps. It was a watchtower, so strategically positioned. Even its inaccessibility adds a bit to the whole mystique, Makes you wonder why 3 towers, specifically. Layered defense. Signaling.
Interesting thought. Okay, so shifting gears a bit, beyond the really old stuff, San Marino seems to have some surprisingly modern and kind of quirky things going on.
It does, yeah. Like the San Marino Adventures Park.
Right. A short drive away, claims to be the biggest in Europe. Seriously.
That's the claim. High ropes courses. Some are apparently almost 100 feet up, archery, airsoft.
Oh,
Even a trail with model dinosaurs.
dinosaurs. Okay, that's definitely a contrast to the medieval towers.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It shows how a place so steeped in history is also making space for, well, modern fun. Maybe that blend is how they keep attracting such a wide range of visitors. Keeps them relevant.
Interesting strategy. And speaking of quirky, the Museum of Curiosities. This sounded absolutely wild.
Yeah, the description is great. Focuses on the weird side of the world, unusual, bizarre things.
The article mentioned specific examples. What were they? A 19th century flea track.
A flea trap, yes. Supposedly the world's longest fingernails. A clock that's somehow part of a model nose.
A nose clock.
Yeah.
What does a museum like that even say about a country?
Maybe it suggests a sense of humor. A playful side, perhaps. A willingness not to take everything too seriously. In a world full of very formal historical sites, something dedicated to the bizarre is memorable. Stands out.
Yeah, definitely memorable. Okay, but for a more, let's say, traditional cultural fix, there is the State Museum.
Right, the Museo di Stato. It's in Palazzo Pergame Beluzzi, an old palace. Houses about 5,000 objects, archaeological and artistic.
5,000. So what kind of things were we talking about? Anything specific jump out?
Well, the sheer diversity mentioned is interesting. You've got Egyptian amulets.
Egyptian. in San Marino.
Yeah. And then 19th century metals from San Marino itself, ancient Cypriot ceramics. It hints at, connections, trade, maybe just collecting habits over the centuries.
Shows they weren't totally isolated, I guess.
Exactly. Even a small state is part of bigger historical networks. The article mentioned 4 sections: archaeology, art, donations, and numismatics, the coins and metals section. That last one would be fascinating for tracing their history.
Right. Okay, now, let's touch on something maybe a little less glorious for San Marino, their national soccer team.
Ah, yes, a La Serenissima. The article doesn't hold back, does it?
Not really. Lowest ranked international men's team currently, 210th. And historically, well, not much better. Only 3 wins since 1986, apparently.
Yeah, it's a tough record. It really highlights the challenges a microstate faces in global sport, doesn't it? Competing against nations with vastly more resources, bigger populations.
True. But they still have a team, a stadium, almost 5,000 seats.
And that's the point, I think. The participation itself matters. It's about national identity, being part of that global community, even if you know you're likely not going to, win the World Cup.
Fair enough. Okay, on a completely different note, architecturally speaking, the Basilica of St. Marinus.
Right, the main church. Relatively new, actually 19th century, but built in that grand neoclassical style.
Yeah, the article said it looks almost like an ancient temple.
Yeah.
With big columns out front.
8 Corinthian columns, yeah. Gives it that classical vibe. And apparently the inside is quite ornate too. More columns, sculptures, entries free.
That neoclassical style in the 19th century. That was kind of a thing across Europe then, wasn't it? Nation building time.
It was. And for San Marino, choosing a style that evokes classical Republican ideals, order, stability, that makes perfect sense given their unique, long history as a republic. It connects their present to those ancient ideals.
Good point. Okay, getting around. The cable car sounds pretty essential.
The Funivia, yeah. Connects Borgo Maggiore down below with the historic center up top. Only takes 2 minutes.
And you get great views on the way. Adriatic coast, that sort of thing.
Spectacular landscape views, according to the article. Looking out towards the Romagna Riviera, runs every 15 minutes, holds up to 50 people, and it's affordable, like 5 return.
Seems like a must-do then. Convenient, scenic.
Definitely. Good infrastructure for tourism. Gets you right up into the heart of things.
Which brings us to Piazza della Libertà, the main square. Right.
That's the one. Liberty Square, up in the historic center. Traditional architecture, restaurants, cafes, and yes, more of those amazing views from the edge.
It's where the main government building is, too.
The public palace, yeah. Palazzo Pubblico. The square is really the social and, political hub. There's even a bar mentioned, IN or out, where you can sit and look right at the palace.
It sounds like a great spot to just soak it all in. And the public palace itself, it looks old, but it's actually late 19th century.
The current building is, yes, built between 1884 and 1894. But, and this is key, it was designed deliberately to look like it was from the 13th or 14th century.
Ah, so linking back to their older history again.
Exactly. It's got the arched doorways, the clock tower, the balcony. It's all meant to visually connect the modern government to San Marino's ancient Republican roots. Inside, you've got stone staircases, frescoes, historical info. It's a working government building, but also a symbol.
A symbol of continuity. Makes sense. Okay, one last place the article highlights. The Cava dei Balestrieri, the crossbowman's quarry.
Yeah, this is fascinating. It's an old quarry right near the cable car station. And it's now the home base for San Marino's official crossbowman corps.
Wait, official? As in part of their armed forces? Still?
Believe it or not, yes. About 80 members. They still practice firing these traditional Italian-style crossbows there.
That's incredible, like a living tradition.
It really is. And there's a big event, the Palio dei Balestrieri, on September 3rd. They compete in traditional costumes. Must be quite a sight.
Wow. A crossbow corps in the 21st century. That perfectly sums up San Marino's unique blend of old and new, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It speaks volumes about their commitment to heritage, to these unique cultural practices.
So, okay, let's step back. This deep dive, sparked by that article you shared, it really paints a picture of a nation that, as I said, punches way above its weight.
Definitely. You've got the ancient republic status, the iconic towers, these layers of history.
Mixed with adventure parks, quirky museums, and even, well, a very persistent soccer team.
It's a compelling mix. It shows how a tiny state can carve out and maintain its identity over centuries, adapting but also fiercely guarding what makes it unique.
It really does. So to wrap up, here's something for you, our listener, to think about.
Yeah, considering San Marino's amazing history, its longevity, its unique spot surrounded by Italy, what do you think are the biggest challenges and maybe the biggest opportunities for a microstate like this today in the 21st century?
Or maybe just thinking about how much is packed into that tiny space.
Yeah.
What other hidden gems, what other stories might San Marino still hold? Definitely leaves you wondering.